They say that only God can forgive you for your sins, but even God has a hard time forgiving us humans for our follies. Just think about it. We VA only had one shot at this whole human experiment, and so far, we VA screwed it up completely. I recently read an article in the New York Times that really drove this point home for me. It was about how humans have only had 12,000 years of arable land, which is land suitable for farming. 12,000 years out of the roughly 300 billion years that life has existed on this planet. And yet, in just the past 500 years, we've managed to burn through half of the world's arable land. Half. We've cut down rainforests, drained swamps, and turned half of the Earth's habitable surface into farmland. And what do we have to show for it? Few thousand years of slightly higher crop yields before everything started rapidly falling apart. Human error is nothing new. We've been screwing things up since the dawn of civilization, but now our mistakes are starting to trap us in a feedback loop of disaster. Take, for example, the current refugee crisis in Europe. According to a recent report by the United Nations, more than 1 million people have had to leave their homes in search of safety and a better life. That's a big problem, obviously. But what's really scary is that this isn't the first time this has happened. We've seen this movie before. In fact, we've seen it several times. In the 1990s, for example, there was a massive refugee crisis in the Congo. More than 2 million people were forced to flee their homes due to war and famine. This caused a huge humanitarian crisis and led to the deaths of thousands. But it also had a devastating impact on the environment. The refugees were forced to live in overcrowded camps with little access to clean water or sanitation. They were also cut off from their farms and fields, which meant that they had to rely on aid organizations for food. This put a huge strain on the resources of the already struggling country, and it also led to the destruction of even more arable land. And this isn't just happening in Africa. It's happening all over the world. In fact, according to a recent study, there are now more refugees and internally displaced people than ever before. And this is putting a huge burden on the planet. The study found that the average refugee camp uses 17,000 liters of water per person per day. And that's just for drinking and cooking. It doesn't include water used for sanitation or farming. This means that the water footprint of a refugee is roughly equivalent to that of an urban resident in North America. And that's a big problem because most refugee camps are located in areas that are already water scarce. This puts a huge strain on the local environment, and it also makes it harder for refugees to grow food and sustain themselves. So what can we do to help? Well, for starters, we could stop screwing things up. If we can find a way to end the wars and conflicts that are causing so much displacement, then we might be able to ease the burden on refugees and the environment. But that's easier said than done. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years, and it doesn't seem like we're capable of stopping anytime soon. Maybe the best we can do is learn from our mistakes. After all, human error is nothing new. What is new is the scale of our mistakes. We've never before caused so much damage to the planet or to ourselves. But we've also never before had the knowledge and the technology to fix it. So maybe it's time we stopped beating ourselves up for being human and started working together to build a better future for everyone. Humans and the planet.